But first, President Biden delivers his State of the Union address with the world watching. And he vowed to crack down on Russian leaders for their invasion of Ukraine. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jim Rosenfield.
I'm Jacqueline London. President Biden said the U.S. will close its skies to Russian aircraft following a similar move by U.S. allies.
The Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets.
And tonight in the audience, a show of support for the people of Ukraine. Many members of Congress wore blue and yellow and waved small replicas of the Ukrainian flag. Let's get right to NBC 10's Lauren Mayk, live now on Capitol Hill. Lauren.
Jacqueline, President Biden looking to get tough on Russia tonight in a speech that is being watched here at home and around the world. Now, that part of the speech brought some bipartisan moments, as you just saw. But President Biden also talked about an agenda that has not completely gotten through Congress. Things like the expanded child tax credit, wanting that to come back again, and things like that have an uncertain future.
President Biden entering the House chamber with no mask, a different time in the pandemic, a different time in the world.
6 days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine changing the president's speech, changing things in this country.
Tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy. He has no idea what's coming.
That last line presumably directed to Russian President Vladimir Putin, not in the president's prepared text. For some moments in a State of the Union address that is often divided, resolve against Russia to stand with Ukraine, bringing applause on both sides of the political aisle. Like this when he referenced the Ukrainian ambassador in the chamber.
Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world. Ukraine.
President Biden saying U.S. troops will not be engaging in fighting with Russia, but acknowledging impact at home on things like gas prices at a time when Americans are already struggling with inflation.
I get it. That's why my top priority is getting prices under control.
The president setting out his plan that involves making more things in the U.S.
Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America.
That part of the speech prompting a USA chant often heard during his predecessor's administration. The president tonight taking on crime, announcing a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud and urging background check legislation and resources for police.
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities.
Back to schools. But he does acknowledge that this has been a very partisan subject.
And after the speech, just after the speech, I spoke with one of the members of Congress from our area, Congressman Brendan Boyle from Pennsylvania. I asked him about the president's pitch on Ukraine and also reaction in the chamber.
I think it was what he said, the way he said it, but also the unified reaction. And let's face it, this is a highly partisan time in the United States in which we're living. The fact that you saw every single member of Congress, whether Democrat or Republican, standing up and enthusiastically applauding everything the president said as it relates to Putin, as it relates to Ukraine, it was really quite striking.
That was a roaring economy that came back, and it had no problem with that.
And Congressman Boyle tells me that he is hopeful that Congress will move forward, that the House at least will move forward to pass a bill for aid for Ukraine by the time they leave Washington on Thursday. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Now, the pandemic that has been such a big part of President Biden's administration and a big part of Americans' lives the past 2 years was a relatively minor part of the speech tonight, but the president did note that Americans will be able to get a second round of those at-home COVID tests free from the government starting next week. Live in Washington, D.C., I'm Lauren Mayk, NBC 10 News.
Lauren Mayk, live for us in Washington. Thank you.
As is tradition, a member of the opposing party gives an official response to the State of the Union. And tonight, Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa offered this rebuttal to President Biden.
We're now 1 year into his presidency, and instead of moving America forward, it feels like President Biden and his party have sent us back in time to the late 70s and early 80s, when runaway inflation was hammering families, a violent crime wave was crashing our cities, and the Soviet Army was trying to redraw the world map.
Governor Reynolds went on to say President Biden has not delivered on many of the promises made during his presidential campaign.